Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm the assassin, AK-47, and I am who I am. And I am different from everybody else. This is the KBW Podcast. You know what we're here for. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's Tuesday. Or maybe it's earlier for you if you're a membership member. So you might want to get on that if you want to see the pod early. But we're here, boys. Let's introduce ourselves. Bulldozer. Let them know who you are.
It's your boy, the biggest and baddest in all of KBW, the Bulldozer. And, you guys may notice I'm in a little different setting this time. I'm going to let my other co-hosts explain what's going on. Go ahead, KAGE.
You do know what that means about different settings, you said before, but I'll see what KAGE has to say.
I am the best at what I do, Mr. Better Than You, KAGE, a.k.a. Fuego Del Sol. And this week, we got a very, very special guest, as you've already seen by the title. But first, I got to let you know how this whole podcast came together and who are the executive producers. As you guys know, in the beginning of February, we started our very own KBW membership. And that means you have 4 different levels, starting at 99 cents all the way up to $19.99, with a bunch of bevy of perks and goodies that you can get, including brand new KBW matches never before seen. But that also means you help make this happen. So as of today, February the 7th, as we're recording this, we have 22 members that you will be able to see, over 20 members that you'll be able to see at the end of the podcast in the credits. But a few of them signed up at that highest tier, the KBW Difference Maker tier, which makes them KBW executive producers, and I'm here to tell you who they are right now. The first KBW executive producer that we would like to thank is DJ Murder, then Killer Kokami, as I want to say, I hope I'm saying that right. The next one would be Rensler, the chosen one, of course. Big shout out to Rensler. Jax Allen.
Hey, Jax Allen.
Leviathan or Leviathan King. Leviathan King.
Nice.
Berto 32, One-Eyed God, Ash Crimson. Thank you so much for being one of our KBW difference makers and our executive producers. And you can join the KBW membership right now today, and you'll get your name shouted out if you want to be an executive producer, or at the end credits, where you'll see everyone else under the KBW other tiers, the lower tiers.
What's going on with these names?
Okay.
You got DJ Murder, you got Killer. What's going on?
Listen, I don't think we can take name advice from AK-47. Okay?
I'll
That's
stand
a little
down.
ironic.
Hey.
Also, we'll be doing the first KBW live reaction stream on February 18th, Sunday, February 18th. Mark your calendars. We will be in live on YouTube. Me, Bulldozer, AK-47, reacting to the whole All or Nothing pay-per-view, Team KBW versus the Renegades. Also, you want to be there live because there's certain members in KBW that can gift out the $5 membership tier during the live stream. So make sure you have the membership option turned on. Make sure you have the gifted option turned on, because then you might be able to get gifted a KBW membership by one of the other awesome KBW fans out there that wants to help make your day brighter. So we definitely want to see you on February 18th. Now, all the housekeeping is out of the way. We done paid the bills, This is what makes the podcast. And we want to thank you so much for all the success of the KBW membership. And because of that success, we are going to bring you another guest. Y'all loved D-Man last week. Now, we're going to bring in a man who, without him, none of KBW would be possible. Hell, no, Fuego Del Sol wouldn't be possible. I am talking the man who purchased KBW, the KBW owner, and more importantly, my father, my dad. Me and the KBW crew are proud to welcome Mr. O to the podcast.
Hey.
Let's go.
Good to be here. Good to be here, guys.
Let's go.
How y'all doing this
My
evening?
pops. Yeah, it's good to see you,
Man,
pops.
good to see you.
My dad still lives in Alabama, where Dustin also lives. Bulldozer also lives. So Bulldozer decided to go and set everything up to make sure we could get Mr. O on the podcast. So big shout out to you, Bulldozer, and big shout out to you, Pops, for coming on We talked about this. We've been talking on the phone all week about this. You listen to the D-Man podcast. So I know you bring a whole different perspective to not only KBW, but my life, D-Man's life, my brother CJ's life, all of that growing up. And we can't wait to hear these stories and things that you have to tell. But first, I want to throw it to my co-host. What do y'all think about Mr. O being on the podcast?
Well, obviously, I'm ecstatic. Bulldozer is there with him, so he's been talking to him during, throughout the day, tonight. But man, seeing Mr. O again, it's a lot of, some history me and Mr. O have. He kind of we'll talk about it down the line. But yeah, he did fire me, so we'll get to that point soon. So
oh wow,
so that was a fun time. So yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun podcast. This is gonna be fun. I can't wait to dive in deeper into what we're gonna talk about.
Well, I'm happy.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely happy he's here. He, let me come here. Told me he was gonna let me stay here a couple nights, feed me, loan me $200.
You're such a caretaker, bro.
Hey, I do own
Mr. O is
KBW.
such a giver.
I do own KBW, so I got a little bit of money doing this.
Hey.
Not only does he own KBW, AK, can you tell me exactly in that first video what all he says he owns real quick? I know you had it wrote down.
So I recently watched when Mr. O came on for the first time. He says, I own several restaurants. I have car dealerships. And if I'm not at one of those, I'm at my 20 banks that I also own on the southeast coast. So
of KBW. First of all, a little bit about me. I'm a businessman. I'm a smart businessman. I'm all about making money. Because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. When I was approached about this company, KBW, I did a little investigation. Because you see, before I put my name on the dotted line to explore different business adventures, I have to search things out and make sure that it's right for business. Because I'm a busy man. If I'm not running one of my several restaurants, at my car dealerships, I'm usually at one of my 20 banks along the southeast.
I died laughing.
Businessman.
Hey,
Businessman.
AK, I'll let you start it off by throwing out my famous tagline. Go ahead, tell them.
Yep. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Talk to me. And see, people want to know how that catchphrase came about. People have a bunch of questions that I cannot wait to ask you and get into it. But first, is there anything particular, Mr. O, that you want to say before we get into our questions?
Basically just that I'm, glad to be here with you guys. It's good to catch up. Life moves fast, and 10, 12 years went by really, really, really quick. I mean, and as you can look right here and tell, my hair is not the same color anymore, So, I mean, but, I'm more proud of you guys and the success that each of you has had in the path that you took in life. And that, that's the most thing that makes me the most proud, And
it's okay because Big Time Mike beat you to the gray hair. So
I was about to say the same thing. You beat me to the joke. I was about to say Big Time Mike got more gray hair than you do, but we will get to that when Big Time Mike comes on in the podcast in a few weeks.
Hey,
definitely looking forward to that as well.
Hey, with gray hair comes wisdom, though. I just want to let y'all know that.
I heard that's the case. So
yeah, I definitely heard that's something old people say. I definitely want to just point out, this is what's great about this podcast. People are going to get to see, they've already got to see Bulldozer's sense of humor, since something that he didn't show really much during KBW. And because you were a serious authority figure, people don't know how incredibly funny you are, Dad, and always have been. And I think that's where me and my brothers get our sense of humor from, is from you, man. You've always been funny. And Mom to a certain extent too, but I mean, you find joy in making other people laugh in a way that has definitely translated to me and my brothers, and we just love having a good time, and that's something I would always, credit back to you, because you loved having a good time as well. And so I can't wait for people to see that, and see me, the different aspects that me, D-Man, and CJ all get from you, you being our father. So I really can't wait for that.
Yeah, like I said, man, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm excited to jump into it. We'll do some reminiscing and some talking, and I'll throw out a few stories that I guarantee the KBW world, and Fuego Del Sol world has no idea about. I can tell you that. And I kind of got some stories with probably on all of you guys. So.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I love it. I want to preface this by saying, listen, I would never be a wrestling fan without my father. He's been a wrestling fan for probably as long as he can remember, I would assume, right, Dad? Like, how long have you been watching wrestling?
Man, I was watching wrestling as a young 10, 12-year-old kid, as far back as I can remember, when it was the territory days, and there's not many people that I haven't seen come through our area and different spots like that. And we used to attend the local wrestling shows on Tuesday nights. It'd come on Saturday morning on TV, and then on Tuesday nights they had it at Mobile Expo Hall, close to where we live here, and for like $4 you could go, and it was the best entertainment in the world. I mean, I've never been to a football game that made me jump up and cheer as much as watching your favorite heel get his brains beat in, on a Tuesday night. So,
and I think that's so
yeah,
important.
man. That's like
it's kind of like going back to a couple podcasts ago when we were talking about our family and the impact they have on. And I'm the same way. I don't think I would have been as big of a wrestling fan if it wasn't for my dad. Just like you said, you may have not even been a wrestler at all if not for this man here. So that just goes to show how pivotal it is.
One thing I can vividly remember is Fuego's mentioned a few times that I worked a lot. I always tried to do what I could, to take care of the family, and on Monday nights when wrestling started becoming popular, when he was born, I would always try to make it my business to get home early enough on Mondays after a long day's work to get a shower, get something to eat, and sit down on the couch with him and my other boys and just spend some time with him. And that was it was like a bonding time. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, probably ways that they don't even realize, it brought us closer together because we bonded in that certain aspect of, that's what we did together. That's just one of the things. But, I mean, it was just a way to get away, and for a couple of hours a night, you could just sit around and your boys would be up in your lap, and then halfway through one of the shows, they would have each other in a headlock, and I'd have to break it up, which, I mean, that's just memories, I mean, it just fun times back in them days. And like I said, before you know it, you blink and it's here you are, y'all grown men, and things have changed a lot. So.
Yeah, I would say that to a certain extent, man. Like, there's a few things that my dad has always loved. He's been a huge sports fan all of his life. Different, almost all different sports. My dad keeps his finger on the pulse of everything. Of course, Alabama football, which we've talked about a little bit, and then wrestling for sure. Like every Monday night growing up, it was like it was absolutely a bonding experience. So much so, I feel like me and my dad still bond.
Yep.
To this day, talking about wrestling, right? He calls me every other day at least, and we're talking about life, we're talking about family, but we're talking about sports, but a lot of the times we're still right now talking about wrestling, right? And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, my dad, when I told him I wanted to be a professional wrestler, there was never a doubt in his mind that I couldn't do it. And he supported me along the way every step of the way, and I, along with, AK and Dustin, I consider my dad now as a grown man to be one of my best friends. It's one thing to have that father figure, and he absolutely is still a mentor, and my dad first, but I am so happy that we become pretty much best friends as adults, and that's one of the things I probably most happy with in my adult life is that, those gray hairs do come with wisdom, and I get to, ask my dad questions about not only wrestling, but life in general, business, everything, in all aspects. He's been through it, he's done it, and he's got a perspective that I don't have. And it has, fostered a great relationship between me and him. And it's always, you always have that type of relationship with your dad, but when you also have common interest, it just makes things so much more fun. And even though my other two brothers have grown out of wrestling, they still have different common interests with him as well. But I feel like ours is a little bit more connected when it comes to wrestling, because he never really grew out of it, just like I never really grew out of it. I've just been a fan all my life, just like he has. And so that's something that will always connect us in a special way. Even so much so that when me and AK started pro wrestling, he was involved in a few storylines with us. And later on in the pod, after we talk about KBW, I want to get into some of those stories, because those are some fun stories that a lot of KBW fans don't know that I have some footage of. So I'm really excited to, talk about that as well. But let's jump into some of these questions, the people have, not only for Mr. O, but some for us. I want to get this one out of the way early because I've seen it multiple times, right? So both Rensler and give me one more second because I got all the questions pulled up right here. Oh yeah, both Ash Crimson and Rensler both want to know, AK, KAGE, do you have any interest in going to WWE or NXT in the future? Do you want to take this one first, or do you want me to take it, AK?
I can go first. I mean, obviously. Of course, I'd love to go to WWE or NXT. Like, who, as a professional wrestler, like, who wouldn't growing up? Especially if you, watched WWE a lot, or, obviously you did if you were wrestling. So that would be a dream come true. And mostly everyone's dream is to make the big time, be on TV. AEW just started not too long ago. That's another big TV program now. And, TNA's still out there. They're still, doing their thing. But as always, WWE and NXT is, considered the biggest of the biggest, the big time. That's WWE. So, of course, obviously, I would love to.
Yeah, I agree. But I feel like that's a common misconception. Like, I see it all the time from people on my Instagram. It's like, you should go to WWE. You can't show up in Florida at the Performance Center and be like, hey, give me a job.
You know who I am?
Right? Like,
KAGE and AK-47.
So it's like,
my fans said I should be here.
If you're not a giant star in another promotion, like a Jade Cargill or like a Cody Rhodes or like someone from TNA, they're not going to immediately grab you. So you have to make your name on the independents or in other promotions to then get a tryout or, a connection at WWE to get there. And that's what I'm working towards now. I'm working towards a tryout with the WWE to hopefully be there, because that is one of my goals. But if not there, and, TNA comes to offer me something, or somewhere down the line AEW calls me back, of course. I'm trying to be on TV. I'm trying to make the most money as possible being a professional wrestler. So I'm absolutely open to the idea and trying to make that a reality. But I'm glad people want to know about that, and I wanted to give them a quick answer on that.
For sure.
Let me pull up another question here that I have for you guys. Because we didn't ask D-Man this last week, they want to know, how did D-Man and Maxzilla come up with their wrestling name? Something we definitely should have asked D-Man. D-Man's first name starts with a D.
Right.
And that's kind of a nickname I would say my dad gave him. He would call him D-Man, right? Would you not say that was your doing?
Especially when he was younger. A lot more when he was younger.
Yeah.
When he was around that age. When he's around that age, it was D-Man. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes just a nickname. Same thing. My name starts with a K. My mom would call me KAGE for short sometimes, and I liked the sound of it, and I eventually chose KAGE.
Although I will say this. I was telling Bulldozer a little earlier, not one time in my life can I ever remember calling CJ. Ever in my life. Never. Like it's like, well, I gotta refer to him as CJ when I totally refer to him as something else. But I told Dozer, I said, look, I know I'm gonna botch that because I'm so used to calling him by another name and not CJ. But I said, but everything has to stay in the KBW perspective, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I mean, he's your son, so obviously you're gonna call him by his real name. You're so used to
I mean
it.
that CJ is his some of his initials,
Right,
but yeah, I tried to inform Pops on that earlier. I was like, if you could try to keep it, we're not trying to dox anybody, get anybody's real information out there, but even if it slips, I'll do my best to mute it when I can. Someone also asked, what if Cage and D-Man had a brother storyline? I don't know if we were ever planning on... We wanted to keep our characters as different as possible, but maybe somewhere down the line we would have revealed it, but I never had that thought growing up.
I tell you,
just a
you
quick
saying that, it
question
would
for
have been
them.
a cool angle maybe. Have Mr. O somehow it's both of your fathers, and then you guys just feud over custody. So I don't know.
I feel like that.
Something of
I
that
feel
nature.
like that
Hey,
would happen if KBW stayed longer. Like we will eventually made it to that point of like storylines like that. I would think.
Oh, what would have been even better is to come out and reveal that either you or AK-47 was my illegitimate son.
Oh yeah.
Dog, that would have been great too.
Had-
That would have been
Hazard
so
is
funny.
Mr. O's illegitimate.
I would have loved to see an AK promo of him finding out that Mr. O is his illegitimate father. That would be hilarious to see AK go bananas in that sense. Also, real quick, I forgot to say, Maczilla's real name is Mac, and in my head, I just threw Maczilla on the end of it. So Maczilla, because his first name really is Mac, even though he doesn't go by Mac on an everyday basis, we called him Maczilla because that's what I thought of. Same reason was just like the Beast or Pac-Man. I really put no thought into a lot of these names. I just gave them something, really, because I'm a dumb teenage kid, and I thought, hey, how ironic is it to call the smallest guy on the roster Maczilla, like a Godzilla reference, because it's funny.
Can I say one thing about that? I said to
please.
you guys, and I say this with the utmost respect. Now that we're grown, that you guys are grown men or whatever. But there was like absolutely no thought put into some of this stuff, and it was like you could tell that it was coming from a bunch of kids, but at the same time, it took on a life of its own, and it just blew up to a point to where it's like what do we got going on here? I'm like, YouTube was just coming out, and it was a thing where. I think Cage asked for a crappy camera for Christmas. I say a crappy camera. At that time, it was just a camera. We bought him a camera, and I think it had a tripod with it, if I'm not mistaken, for Christmas or whatever. And he was like, I want that so I can film and I can record. So he did, and the quality was so bad. I mean, even the cheapest iPhone you can buy right now is 1,000 times better than any camera that you guys had in KBW's early years. But you can go online right now, and there's people online that like critique you guys' matches or review your matches, and they speak of it like it's a freaking multi-million-dollar pay-per-view. Like it's like, and that's a good thing. I'm saying this with a lot of props to you guys for how it took on a life of its own. And just because like now there's KBW has faded as far as, like you said, with the copyrights and this and that, still there's kids that are coming into their own and being able to get on YouTube and things of that nature now. And you guys are still picking up subscribers because they've never seen it. That the 9 and 10-year-olds now they're just discovering this, and so it's like every day you guys are probably picking up subscribers from things that you did 13 years ago, or whatever it was.
And I
New
think
generation
it's kind of like it's kind of like Cage said. I think KBW is honestly timeless for that age group, that particular age group. And it kind of like what you said. The only thing that'll hurt us, besides the copyright stuff, obviously, is the quality. because as we go back and we even do reaction videos, we're like, oh my god, this is terrible quality,
Yeah.
And so that's really the only thing that'll hurt us, because I think KBW itself could withstand the test of time, because I thought it was pretty good quality for that age of kids,
Hey, for some 12-year, for some 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13, whatever you guys were at the time. It's like I might be getting ahead of myself. I want to tell the story, if it's okay with Cage, about the day that he called me and said that YouTube was wanting to sponsor his videos.
Talk to him. Let him know.
So I'm at work. By this time, everybody knows he's kind of told the story of how his mom and I, we divorced or whatever and moved on. She's doing very well for herself now. I'm very happy now. We're both remarried, and but he was living with me, and he called me one day, and this is that right. Like I said, this is in the infantry of YouTube, maybe a year or two, and he had put on a few videos, and he called me at work, and he goes, "Hey, Dad," he said, YouTube. I got a letter, an email from YouTube. They want to sponsor my videos and put like. I said, "What do you mean sponsor?" He's like, "Put commercials in front of my video." I'm like, "Well, son, they only do that for people with a lot of followers." And he's like, "I know." And so I get home and I read the email that he got from YouTube, and I'm like, "Well, it seems legit." And then this is the first time that I actually look the KBW channel, because I was busy. I was actually in real life. I was working a lot, like he said. And when I looked on there and seen the amount of subscribers and followers that you guys had, and then one of the videos, I looked at it, and at that time, I think it had like 400,000 views. I'm like, this is freaking insane. And I'm like, you guys have this many views on this video? He said, "Yes, sir." And I'm like, and I'm like, "Well, I'll tell you what." I said, "Hit the button and tell him yeah." And so he does that. And if I remember right, his first check was probably about $450 or something like that. And not very. And then the next one.
I remember that we were in the car. We were headed to my grandparents, your parents, and we had just got onto their road. And I get the email of like the first one being 400, and I show you that, and you're like, "Y'all made that in the first month of." I remember your reaction of being like, "That's crazy. That's awesome. That's insane." It's like, because I was always playing sports, you never required us to get a job. Like you told us, "Hey, as long as your grades are good and you're playing sports, I'm not going to make you, get a job." But that was the first time I was actually making money in high school. And I remember it shocked you because, first of all, YouTube being so new at the time, you didn't think this was possible. And then, like, two is like, "Oh my God, y'all are making that much on the first month." And then the second month, it doubled, and we had made even more money. But continue your story. I just remember that very vividly. Like, I can put myself back in your vehicle at that time as we turn on that road, and me reaching from the back seat and showing you the money we made. And I'm so happy about that.
Well, and the thing was, what was even more shocking was, maybe you told me, or maybe how it came up. You said, "Dad, this is only for like a half a month." And I'm like, "What?" You said, "Yeah, we didn't even get paid for a full month." And then the next month, it was like, I want to say $1,500, maybe $1,200-$1,500. And I'm like, "Is this gonna be every month?" And I promise you, from that day to now, I have never had to give Kate money. I'm like, I still did my daddy duties and took care of him, but I mean, he kept spending money in his pocket all the time. He was somewhat responsible. And he, whenever I remember when he told me after saving up some money that he wanted to, train professionally, I'm like, "Hey, man, go for it. You guys did this. Who am I to step in and say, oh no, I'm not going to be the big dog and step in now and say, no, you can't do that. You can't spend your money on that." Because, I mean, hey, like I said, it blew. I never in a million years thought that it would do that. And whenever I seen how many viewers, that's when I was most shocked, when I seen the amount of views that each video had gotten. And at that point, I was like, "Hey, make another one, make another video, make another video."
Keep pushing them out, cranking them out.
Not only that, but then that's when the idea came about of like, what if we had an authority figure? What if once he realized how it was going, he would make little jokes here and there of like, "I'm gonna have to come on there and say something about this, that, and the other," and we then just got to talking and pitching ideas about an authority figure, and about catchphrases and about different things before, Mr. O made his infamous debut after All or Nothing, when AK thought that him turning on Team KBW would get him control of KBW, but KAGE had a backup plan and sold to an investor right at the right time, right before, as a contingency on if this was to happen.
Can I pause?
And that's what introduced Mr. O. Please.
Again, we're like 13, 14, 15 years old. This is a storyline for like 13, 14. We get an investor stuff. Like we thought all this stuff those storylines is like as like barely even teenagers. It's wild to me how like just thinking back at it now, it's like how do we come up with this stuff? But it's awesome. This is so cool how the spitballing ideas and how the snowball just starts rolling down the hill. He's like, oh yeah, this works so perfectly, and oh, I'm gonna take over KBW because because at the time I'm heelish, I'm like on top of the world. I feel so cocky. I'm at my apex. It's like this makes sense. Then KAGE comes out of nowhere with he sold the company. Now we have an investor, a businessman is now owner. Like what? It's just chaos, and I just want to pause there because of how wild that it seems that we came up with such a wild storyline like that.
Yeah, when you put it like that, AK, it is insane to think that we come up with this weird storyline at 16, 17 years old.
If I can interject too, if you remember, I think on one of the videos that you had me do or whatever, I did some lame, cheesy ass thing to where I like took the phone call from Mark Cuban or whatever.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna talk about that. I got video footage of that. It's like it's so good.
Do you want me to wait? Do you want me to wait?
No, go ahead.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. But me and AK before the podcast were even like doing Mr. O impressions about some of the promos we watched, and that's what I was telling AK. I was like, he's like, hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Mark. It's good. Yeah, it's good to talk. I know I haven't been to a game this season. I know. I got a luxury box anytime I want it. I know. Yeah. But hey, I have a lot of business I have to attend to as well. I appreciate it, Mark. You know what? Let me talk to you tomorrow. I know. I'll be at a game soon. All right. Bye. And then he goes back to cutting his phone.
And the thing was, and the only reason that I used Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks was, once again, lame as it can be, but at that point in time, the Dallas Mavericks was KAGE's favorite basketball team, and I knew Mark Cuban owned that basketball team, so I just threw that in there. It was like let me ad lib right quick, and do this. So that's how that came about. I could have used anybody. I could have used some other famous person, but Mark Cuban's who I chose. I don't know why.
That was so funny. I mean, you I know you're trying to downplay it, but I mean, your character, in my personal opinion at least, was awesome. I mean, I love the whole that old aspect, like just the
I think as a matter of fact, I dissed on you a couple times.
But what's funny is he did this on me, but I remember KAGE specifically telling me, and I thought it was so cool. He was like, "Oh, my dad loves you, man. He loves Bulldozer, loves his character. He's so proud of what you do." And I was like, I thought so highly of that.
Yeah,
man. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. To this day, my dad would say like, man, Dustin really plays the biggest and the baddest. He plays the monster menace so well, and like, he's there. He can say it himself, but like he definitely
when
did.
He flipped that trampoline over, I was like coming out of my, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God.
Yes.
And and the KBW audience has no idea how good of a repairman or a assembler of a trampoline that this guy is. Because let me tell you something. I guarantee you I either repaired or put up at least 5 trampolines from the time these kids were starting to get into this till it was over. At least five. And I had to one time.
Yeah, even a few before ever KBW. Even like, because we had trampolines since like I was, 8, 9, 10 years old. That young. We had trampolines at my house, and like he definitely had put up at least 5. I would say absolutely at least 5 trampolines were bought and put up at my house. And another thing too, which is crazy to think about.
Another quick story too is I can't remember if it was if they had their trampoline or if something had happened to it, but I come home and there was either 2 trampolines in the yard or theirs was tore up and there was another trampoline in the yard. I'm like, what's going on? Where's this trampoline come? Oh, we drug it from across the road from the neighbor's house. I was like, no, you cannot do that. I said, because if you tear that trampoline up, I got to buy that one. I got to buy you guys another one and I got to buy that one. I was like, no, that's not cool. Take that trampoline. And I mean, like 6 of you guys just picked it up, took it back across the street to where it belonged. I'm like, well, what are you guys doing?
I got permission from the neighbor. I secretly went over there and asked if it was okay so we could use it. But there was so many little things like that I would hide or not necessarily tell my parents about. It's like I was telling them last week, man, the amount of damage we did to your trash cans for raking up the leaves, or like the different things that we would do, or like even I remember a trampoline spring popped off and you ran over it by mistake with the lawnmower because it was just out in the yard, and that like messed up your blade. We had to lift the lawnmower up and pull the spring out, but like we didn't have the proper ramps, so we had like up on the steps of the porch, and you were like, y'all got to make sure this doesn't fall on my head as I'm trying to untangle this trampoline. That is a vivid memory of like the frustration you had, but you never once told us to stop doing this. You know, you allowed us because you knew, you know, 3 boys, y'all have y'all's hands full, but also the fact that we were outside playing around, playing sports, it was in the back of your mind to say, if, you know, we had our fair share of injuries, but never really any on KBW that, you know, messed with, like we had baseball injuries or football injuries and things of that nature. But luckily for KBW, we really never had any injuries. As long as nobody was getting hurt, y'all were cool with it. And again, there was some stuff that was going on that y'all had no clue about, that I tried to make sure you didn't know about. So I didn't get in trouble, but also I can still make KBW cool.
I'll say this. In the community we lived in, I don't say a pillar of the community, but I was well liked by people. And there was just countless times when, before his mom and I divorced, that we would be gone maybe to, you know, grab some groceries or, you know, visiting somebody or whatever. And they were like, Dad, we don't want to go. And I'm like, all right. And at this point, they were like 13, 14 years old, whatever it was. And so they were big enough to, you know, kind of hang out at home by themselves or whatever. And I'd get a phone call, and the phone call would be something like, hey, man, do you know that your kids are on top of your house right now? And I'm like, so the whole community like knew what was going on, and they would call me and they would be like, hey, you know, I see somebody on top of your house right now. Oh, he just fell off. I'm like, no, he didn't fall off. He jumped off. I promise you that.
That's what I wanted to ask you. That's when you kind of said it right there, but I want to ask you those 2 questions specifically. What did you think about him jumping off the roof? And what did you think about the absolute destruction of the back porch?
Oh my
dude. Look. Let me say this though. Let me back up. There was very few people that I wanted my kids to go home with or spend the night with, or, you know, do a sleepover and this and that. I felt better about our house being the Kool-Aid house, as they say, where all the kids came there, because I didn't care that they were being kids. That's fine. Be kids. But I always liked having my finger on the pulse of what my kids were doing at home. And, you know, and when they went to places like your mom's house, or, you know, he said I'm an AK, I knew where they were and I was okay with that. But some places I was like, I just rather them be here. Get all you guys to come over here. I'd rather that. So that's kind of how that all, you know, came about to be I ain't gonna say the cool spot, but the hangout spot. Because, you know, I had 3 boys, and here's the thing: if we allowed each boy to have a sleepover, well, I went from 3 to 6 because I got 3 kids. You know, yeah, well, he's got somebody sleeping over. Can I have somebody sleeping over? And the next thing you know, it's like, my God, man, I can't feed all these. But I enjoyed that more than them being gone and me not having my finger on the pulse of what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? They were just
Absolutely.
being kids. I mean, you guys were being kids, and I was fine with that. You know,
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm proud of like how well you disciplined us in that sense of like, I understand now. Like, I remember the times I did try to go out and I was doing bad things because I wasn't at home, where I wouldn't have been able to get away with that if I was home, you know? And like, I think that's a smarter way to be, and that's exactly kind of how I kind of raise my kids now, is because of how you guys raised me. Also, Mom at one point ran like a little daycare during the day, our after school program. So like, she loved kids too, and she didn't mind all those kids being over at the house. And so again, it's like, with having 3 boys, we had access to a lot of video games, we had access to a lot of sports equipment, you know, and that's why, you know, in a sense, it became the hangout spot, because it's much easier for 1 or 2 neighbors to come to us than your 3 boys all leave and go to them, you know? And I think that's how, you know, slowly but surely all of this came about, and slowly but surely how KBW amassed a roster that it did.
One thing too, I can guarantee it, like, because I mean we're here talking about KBW and wrestling and this and that, but you know there was other things that went on too, like you know like you said, sports wise and things of that nature, and I cannot tell you how many windows I replaced in our house from baseballs going through them. I mean, look, when his mom and I divorced, we sold the house. The people that bought that house and live in it right now, I guarantee you, if you go to that second window in the front, it's plexiglass. Because I got tired of replacing glass. I just said, you know what, I'm gonna just put plexiglass in here. That way, it's kind of like, you know, plastic, but it's still a window. You know what I mean? And so I guarantee you that house is full of plexiglass right now.
It's so funny. D-Man was on the pod last week, and there's one day I remember I'm standing in my room at my window, and he's outside bouncing a basketball around, and this dude goes to pump fake like he's gonna throw the basketball at me, but he lets it go by mistake, and the ball just shatters my window. And I'm looking at him like, dude. Like, not only are you about to get in trouble, but now I gotta have a day without glass on my window. So I had to go tell Dad, and he walks in, and he looks at the glass, and you can just see his face just, oh, man, he was...
It's like
I can just imagine...
It's like that CJ San Andreas meme. Oh, shit, here we go again.
Here we go again. And it's like you could just tell, like... He understands for kids, and like there's a mad factor, but there's just like more of an annoyance. Like, come on, boys, you gotta not again. Yeah. How do you do this again?
It was constantly something every week. It was something.
Yeah, we talked about last week how there was holes in the walls too. This big old hole.
Don't even get me started on the hole that I repaired, and right as soon as I repaired it, they busted it again right in the
Oh yeah, we talked about that last week.
Don't even get me started about that. I mean, I had just repaired a hole, and they I don't know what kind of cockamamie excuse they came up with or what the reason was. They said that it happened. I know it was a lie. I know it was a lie.
And CJ loved to lie. But I was a pretty halfway decent liar. CJ was the worst. Of course, D-Man was being so young, he couldn't put together a lie to save his life. But CJ, you're younger than me. You would think we came from two different planets when it comes to our thought processes on how to try to lie to our parents.
Hey, let me say this too. Getting back on the KBW train again. Let's talk about the infamous car and the deal with the trunk. You remember you had, I think it was AK you had in the trunk or something like that?
Yeah. So the 1999 Volkswagen Passat.
So listen.
Silver.
Listen.
My first car.
Two stories. Like I said, this is a KAGE story that you wouldn't hear from. Two stories you wouldn't hear from anybody but me. Story number one was when I bought him the car. He turned 16, and my brother was in the military, and he called me one day and he goes, "Hey man," he said, "I found KAGE a car." He said, really, they want a real good price for it or whatever. If you be interested in getting it for him. I can pick it up and you just come here and get it. I'm like, all right, sounds good. So we got the car, but it was a stick shift. So 16 years old, he had never drove a stick shift before. I'm like, all right, I got to teach him how to drive a stick shift. So we went to like several different random, big parking lots or whatever. And I kind of taught him, how to come out with the clutch and this and that. And so fast forward to where he's, okay, all right, I can trust him to go from here to Dustin's house, or I can trust him to go from here to AK's house, building a little trust with me, or whatever. And, he's learning to be a little bit more responsible and watching his road signs and whatever else. But the one thing it took him a while to grasp was coming out of that clutch, and he would spin them tires like Jeff Gordon. He never spun them. And our driveway was on just a small bit of an incline coming out of our driveway to hit the highway. And he would get there, and if one side was a little curve and the other side was straight. Well, when he'd get to the edge of the road to get ready to pull out, he'd look both ways. And if he had a good shot, he didn't want to be out there long, so he'd gas it. And those tires would spin and spin and spin to a point to where all my gravel was gone out of the driveway, and I had to call the local county workers to come and refill my driveway with rocks because there was none left because he done spun them all out. They were gone. I'm like, well, this, but that once again, that's part of of the driving experience of the, you know. And there was one more story I was going to tell about him in the car, but I know what it was. So I was working one night, and
AK, we know. Me and AK talked about this before.
so
the
I was
podcast.
working.
Like,
so I was working.
If this story's gonna get told.
So I was working one night, and I had got to work, and then it was lunch break. It was kind of like lunch, but when you work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., around 11, 12 o'clock is lunchtime. Well, on a Friday, Saturday night, you know, teenagers are still up, so it was, you know, so I'm sitting there eating, and my phone rung, and so he calls me and goes, "Hey, Dad," he said, "just want to let you know, me and AK made it home. We're home. We're at his house." I was like, "All right, cool." I said, "Good deal," because I always told him to call me when he, you know, because he had a certain time to be home. So he called me and said, "Hey, Dad, we're home. I just want to let you know." I said, "All right, cool, fine." So I hung up the phone. I started back eating. About 5 minutes later, he called me back. He said, "Hey, Dad, I got something else to tell you." I'm like, "What's that?" He said, "I had a wreck." I'm like, "What?" and my job was not too far from the house. And I told them guys, I'm like, "You know what? I'll be back in a minute." So I jump in my truck, and get to AK's house. And I said, "What did you do? What happened?" And this young man had reached down to turn his radio up, he said, or down or off or on or what, and he sideswiped the whole side of a bridge. You know, it's concrete or he went down the side of the bridge like you know, Dale Earnhardt at Talladega. I mean, he just kissed the wall. He kissed the wall all the way down. And I was like, "Oh well," I said, you know. So I was mad. I was really mad. So I went on, and he had the nerve about a week later. He, you know, and like I say, when I bought this car, I knew it was gonna get scratched up, dented up, because that's the first car. I knew it was gonna happen. So anyway, I mean, Jeff Gordon, this car so bad that the passenger door would not open. It wouldn't even open. And he comes to me about a week later and he goes, "Hey, Dad, are you gonna fix my car?" I'm like, this is my exact words. "Hell no, I'm not gonna fix your car. You're gonna drive it like that." I said, "And AK can Duke boy that shit and get in the passenger window, because that's the only way." I said, "If the door won't open, AK can Duke boy it," because AK was always with him. I'm like, "AK can just Duke boy it, because I'm not fixing nothing," and I didn't. I never fixed it.
Nope.
He drove it, but I never fixed it. So
the door eventually opened up, and it would like crack every time that we opened it, but we rolled in that thing and we dented it up quite often, right, boys? Like, I for a little bit I blamed AK. I can't blame AK, but AK at the time was trying to put a CD into the holster of the radio, but he was putting it in the wrong slot, and AK at that time could barely open a canned drink with his fingers. Oh, yeah. He was just uncoordinated. Right? And it would make me so frustrated that I would just be like, "Give it to me, I'll do it." And it took just enough for me to kiss the side of that railing and get back over. Scared me and AK both to death. But I could care less about my safety in the car wreck, because all I could think of for the rest of the drive home is my dad is going to kill me. My dad is going to kill me.
You said you kissed the rhythm. That wasn't a kiss.
It was barely. It was bad. We scraped for a half a second and come off, and it scraped down the side. But it was like a wham! Oh crap! But it did enough damage to where it looked like I was just driving on the freaking. It looked like I did way worse damage to it, even though I literally. AK can attest. We literally just bounced into it and bounced off, right?
Hey, it's like a shock factor.
You want to tell them?
Bam.
You want to tell them about the time that you showed me the promo that AK had cut?
Yes, I do. I do want to get to that. I do want to go through a few of these quick questions for you real quick and for us. We'll just knock them out real fast, and then we talk about AK, because I think that leads into a good story. We'll go with, did you guys think KBW would get as big as it did? Do you think it would get as big as it did if we started it now in 2024? Like if we had to restart when we were kids now in this day and age? Or was it successful because of the time when you started it?
That's a great question.
Right? I don't know. Because like there are people that start backyard wrestling today What do you think?
I think-
I'm going to
Okay.
say no, only because YouTube was so early during the time, and like a lot of people weren't on YouTube like that. So we kind of got into YouTube like very, very early, like 2009, 10 is when you first posted a video on there, right?
Yeah.
So that was very early
Yeah.
YouTube, and a lot of people really wasn't on there as much, and wasn't as many channels going on at once, and it was just it was very tight knit, and it was very new and fresh for a lot of people. So a lot of people was watching YouTube at the time and like finding it was so like a niche thing, and we blew up whatever. But and also the copyright stuff, you know, YouTube itself has changed so much with the copyright stuff, because I feel like that kind of got us big too, because we use like, you know, classic songs a lot. We use a lot of like stuff like that, and also YouTube's changed their policies, because like if we try to do it today, we would get flagged all the time because of the kid abuse stuff today. So
Well, that's what I was trying to think. Is like, would I be smarter about how I post it? Would I be as tech savvy?
You
right,
would.
Dustin? What do you think?
See, I think, and I agree with AK. I do think if we started KBW today, it would be harder to get popular because, like he said, you know, we did benefit from the earlier days of YouTube. But one thing about KAGE, he always adapted and overcame. Okay,
True,
so and I think it may have been Rensler that put in his one of his videos about KBW. You know, and I'm not down in any other backyard wrestling or anything. And like I said before, you know, if you're doing it, do it, chase your dream, get better and better every week. But what set us apart at the time was, you know, most backyard wrestling then kind of focused on the gore, the action, and all that. You know, we come up with storylines with a whole purpose and everything, and so I think, you know, it just kind of stood out. And like I said before earlier, it still stands the test of time to this day to an extent. And again, back to the copyright stuff, Cage, you would have overcame that. You would have been like, all right, no more music, no more copyrighted music. We're all gonna go on this website and find this music we can use, and that's what we'll use. You know, we would have overcame.
Can I add?
And not only that, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't think that if y'all did it today, and to me, there's no way that it would be what it is now from 12 years ago, whatever it was, because of the fact, it's one or two reasons. In my mind, the key to the whole thing, the first word in KBW is kids. And no matter how crappy the camera work was, it was genuinely set up by a bunch of kids. Because like now, let's just be honest. Like you said, there's a ton of backyard wrestling, YouTube channels and this and that. Everybody has a YouTube channel now. No, everybody didn't have one back then. And to me, it's so much that goes into like, immediately now, if you turn on a YouTube video and it's poor quality, what do? I'm turning that off. You know, I'm not even watching that. And as bad as it was, it took on a following, and it still has it now because of what it is, not because of, you know, because like you said, the copyrights are gone. There's a lot of music you can't play on it anymore, and this and that. Things have changed so much. Back then, there's no way if you same guys did what went on then. If you tried to do it now, it would. I mean, no slight on you guys, but it would bomb. In my opinion, it would bomb because.
damn.
I'm saying because of how many. Well, right now there's so many YouTube channels out right now that none of them are as popular as KBW. I still think this thing it took on a life of its own. I said that at the beginning. It took on a life of its own.
I agree. I agree to a certain extent. I don't think you could do it now as adults, but if we were kids now at this time, and I have the same ingenuity as I had back then, you know, Bulldozer says I always find a way, and all I'm thinking of right now is like, okay, it might not been immediately found on YouTube, but I could have created a TikTok account and went viral with the right thing on TikTok to send people over to my YouTube channel. And if the things went well, maybe, but like, I think there's just something bred inside of me that I'm going to find a way to succeed in whatever I decide to do. And that all starts back all the way when I was first playing sports as a young kid. Like, I would never the biggest, I was never the fastest, I was never, I just worked extremely hard, and I was very smart and ingenuitive and find ways to, say the right thing, do the right thing, create the right thing. And back as a teenager, I was way overconfident. If you watch any of the KBW promos I did, I thought I was I say this to AK all the time. I wish I had that blind, ignorant confidence that I had as a teenager now as an adult, because I don't have it. I second guess myself. I doubt myself. I, compare myself to other people, when back then I was like, even if you asked me when I first started wrestling, I was like, I'll be signed in 5 years. I used to tell people that. I was still training. I didn't have my first match yet. And I would look at people like, I'm going to be fine. I'll be signed somewhere in 5 years. Just because I had that self-belief. And I think even today, it might not be the KBW we know and love today, but we could have found some certain type of success, and I would have pivoted and made sure we could make something happen.
That exactly is why I said what I said, because, it's like you said, and I think you may have been kind of confused. Like, yeah, we couldn't have done it as adults, but we would have had better camera today. We could have just used our phones. Like you said, the iPhone quality would have been great today to upload. All right. Like Cage said with the TikTok, we got other avenues of social media with the Reels and TikToks and stuff. I think it could have been very much possible that we could have been as successful.
Yeah.
Any other questions? You said you read questions?
Yeah, I want to thank Braden Ball for that
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Braden had a really good question there. Anthony Tyler, also another KBW member, says, was there ever real life bad blood between any of the members of KBW that made it into the show? Whether that be storyline or receipt for something that happened or outside of a match? Thanks. I would say there was no legitimate bad blood. I will say there were times where there was a competitive bad blood between me and AK. And, it would come out during promos. It would come out during matches. We both wanted to be the top guy. And, even if you look at that rap battle, there's some, jabs at each other that I don't think we like to talk about. I didn't want him to say I had Mr. O's cock in my mouth and that freaking, I didn't feel like I was kissing Mr. O's ass. And, the whole retirement angle, I teased retirement. I didn't fully retire, but AK would love to go around saying, go back into retirement again. There was some real animosity at times. We talked about the girlfriend story about AK not showing up at certain times, and I was upset about that. So, I don't feel like there was any legitimate bad blood. Even Bulldozer jokes around about him and Jacob Storm. I don't think he just thought, Jacob Storm made execution less cool, but I don't think he had legitimate beef with anybody. Can you think, Bulldozer, do you think there's anybody that had legitimate beef? I'll be right back.
No, I did not. I did not actually hate Jacob Storm. Cool guy. But I will say this. There is a receipt one time that I specifically remember. I believe it was mine and Paul Wall's last man standing match. And for those of you who don't know, like KAGE said, AK said, we're all good friends in real life. And me and Paul, especially at that time, were really good friends. And I think we had this thing going on where we would, mess with each other and hit each other in the nuts or something. And he had got me good. And I was like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get him. And so if you go back to that last man standing match, and I think he's laid out, and I do the splash on him, I make sure to put my full weight, and I think some knees into him. And when you hear him scream, ah, that was a real scream. And I was like, yeah, take that.
Damn. Yeah,
I like
I'm trying
that.
to think
Go ahead.
me, I don't think there was any actual fights, fist fights after a KBW match or a show or anything we did like that. I know there was kind of I can't think of anything KBW wise that led into us fighting in real life. I can't think anybody had that situation. So yeah, me and KAGE got upset at each other a few times with storyline issues or just frustration on my end. Not doing what I should be doing and being more confident in myself at the time. But other than that, yeah, I wouldn't say it have been any fist fights or that much bad blood. No.
Yeah, definitely want to thank Anthony Tyler for that question. A couple questions for Mr. O, he kind of answered some of them, but I kind of want to give him. Rensler asked what was the first time he watched the show, and again, he kind of talked about that earlier. Is like he had watched a couple videos, just like side eye, not really watching. But it wasn't until like the money thing happened, I feel like he really started paying attention. Correct?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I thought for a long time, and it still was. I thought it was just kids being kids, and I mean, and that's what it was. But at the same time, my ears perked up when I started seeing him get these checks coming in, and then I got to go with him to the bank. Like we set him up a bank account. You know, I had to go with him to the bank to make sure these checks get deposited. Because I mean, at the end of the day, he's still only 15, 16 years old. He's still got he's got a lot going on. And I'm like, hey, look, let's just make sure you're not getting shafted, or anything like that, So yeah.
Ash Crimson asked, how did KAGE convince you to be a part of KBW as an authority figure? And when do you realize that KBW was a popular thing on YouTube? That second part's kind of been answered. But and we kind of talked about that first part as well, Ash Crimson, of like, we just kind of bounced some ideas around to each other when he found out we were getting paid. And it slowly kind of came together. When you say, Pops?
Yeah, that. And to be totally honest, like I said, I had a job. Yeah. And it was all about finding time sometimes too. It's like, I ain't got time to do this. I got other things going on. And so he finally pinned me down, and he told me this, and so a lot of the stuff that you see me do on camera or whatever, he's like, Dad, you got a sport coat? I'm like, of course I got a sports coat. He said, well, go put that on. So it's like, all this is him. He's directing the whole thing. So it's like, some of the stuff I added, like I said, this thing about Mark Cuban and the phone call, I mean, I threw that in there, but a lot of the stuff, he's like, talk about this match and talk about this match. And I got one question I want to ask you guys, because I don't even remember. I can remember that I said that I had my right-hand man was Pitbull. Remember that?
Yeah.
If y'all remember that? Yeah. Who the hell was Pitbull? I don't even remember.
What?
Okay.
BJ,
okay.
Yes, he was Pitbull. And like, again, he was towards the back end of KBW. All the KBW TV episodes. And like, that's one of the reasons we made Pitbull your right-hand man, so he can make decisions for you during, like, he would be at the tapings, you wouldn't be at the taping. So he could be like, you said it to AK, do you have the quote of what he said about Pitbull?
Which one?
Where you say, like, he's like, my enforcer.
Oh, yeah, Pitbull. Yeah, he said, so Mr. O, he goes up there, he's like, okay, so everything Pitbull says, I say. Every time Pitbull says something, that's what I'm thinking at the moment. So when he says something, just know it came from me. That's what he said.
Right? And so, like, Mr. O makes his 4, 5, 6 appearances, and he announces that KBW TV is starting. Season 4 starts with KBW TV. But after that, besides, like, me putting up a note on the screen saying, like, Blood, Sweat, and Tears will be February this day or like December this day, and have like the little dash signed Mr. O at the bottom, Pitbull was really making all the decisions as Mr. O's man. Also, I had created my dad his own Twitter account so I could tweet out things for him. He had access to it too, but he really never used it. He rarely ever used it. But I would tweet out things as KBW Mr. O, GM Mr. O. It's still up. The Twitter account's still up right now. That's awesome. Yeah, even 10 years later, which is very funny.
One side note. It's a sad day when I can admit that AK does me better than me. AK does me better than me. It's like, when he does stuff,
he was popping me earlier before the podcast. He was quoting you, and I was like, he's doing it so well.
I got a story. I don't know how much time we got, but I got a story about him too, though. And I can say.
I definitely want to tell. I want you to tell it. I want to get through these questions. Real quick, and then we're gonna pivot to the AK thing. Anthony Tyler said, would Bama Kid ever wrestle another match, whether as a one-off for the potential reunion? I mean, it all depends. I could see myself throwing it on if we actually did a proper reunion, but that time will tell if any of that actually happens. Jax Allen asked, what did Mr. O think when Paul Wall hit KAGE with a Paul Wall bomb off the trampoline through a table? I can answer that as he didn't know, because I did not show him that video, nor did I tell him it was happening.
This is the first I've heard of it. Let me.
Um,
If I watch the video, we can react together because
Yeah.
I ain't never seen it.
um, uh, Aaron Gibson asked, did you ever think KBW get as successful as it did, Mr. O?
No, not like I said. Once again, I said it 100 times. I'll say it again. I thought y'all were just kids being kids, just doing what kids do, and that was fine by me. And then when this thing took off, like I said, it's took on a life of its own and developed almost like a cult following of people that, they reminisce and and you hear people say, "This is my whole childhood. This was my whole child."
Yeah.
That's nostalgia. That's got to be satisfying for you guys to know that you people all across America and all across probably possibly the world that's watching these videos are like, they just regular. There's regular kids everywhere. They're just like us, or we're just like them, or whatever, And so that's got to be satisfying for you guys to know that all these years later that people are still, enamored with KBW.
Yeah, I got some people from Australia who run now like they graduated from backyard wrestling to their own like independent promotion, and they have tried in the past to be like, hey, if we could work some money deal out to fly me to Australia because they were that big of fans of KBW, so I could
The
be.
Bulldozer
So like we have
will make a
fans literally.
return if you fly me to Australia.
We have fans all across the world. Levathan King asked what made him want to join KBW. Again, I think just bonding, talking, throwing ideas back and forth. We kind of talked about that. Do you have anything to add on that, Pops?
Other than the fact of just, you asked me to do it, and I'm, hey, at the time, a lot of days and nights, it was just me and you. Eventually, CJ came back to live with us, and on the weekends we'd have D-Man. He'd be there too, along with my daughter. But for the most part, a lot of nights it was just me and KAGE. That was it. And so whatever it was, I feel like as a parent, you always want to let your kids know that what they're interested in, you take an interest in it for them. You don't want to make your kid feel like that they're not important or what their ideas are trash or what and so that's just kind of one of the things that I did as far as when he asked me to do it. I'm like, will you do this? And I'm like, well, I really want to, but I never said I don't want to. I just did it, because he asked me to do it. So.
Awesome. Yeah, the final two questions that we have here is DJ Murder asks, when was the moment you guys realized you really had something? And I always go back to Money in the Bank 2 because I say that's the one where we developed a roster and had more guys to help us out. And we didn't just depend on me and AK. I feel like that's the moment we realized we had something, and then it was solidified and validated when we actually started getting paid for it. Is when I really feel like we had something bigger.
For me, it's...
You guys have
I was going to say, for me, it was like all the comments from different places really shocked me. It's like, hey, I'm a big fan from, like I said, Australia, Germany, Japan. I'm like, what? In my, little brain at 12 years, how is this possible that all these people from, different countries, thousands and thousands of miles away, watching us wrestle on a trampoline and enjoying it? It just blows my mind to this day that somebody in some small town in India is just enjoying KBW so much. It's with these kids from Alabama in a small town as well. It's just so awesome to see how wrestling just brings so many people together, and I love it. That's one of those moments of man, we really made it, because I was so many people from around the world telling us how much they love KBW and how they're watching it. Somebody's watching in Africa? I couldn't believe it. I was someone's watching in Europe and Spain, and you got Iceland. I was this is no way. And it's just so cool. We can see all those metrics, too. I remember, KAGE showing me, you can look at all the data and the stats on YouTube. It's this is where, how many people watch you from this, country or whatever. It's it's insanity. So that's my answer.
Bulldozer, you got an answer?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I think for me, I don't think it was over 1 million at the time, but I just go back to the first Royal Rumble. And it's not because I won or anything, but it's just because, we were all in that match, and it was the first maybe big name event we did. And, I think it was you, KAGE. You were showing me the views on it, and I don't know if it was 200,000, 250,000. And I was just like, oh my God. We made it, boys. We made it.
Hell yeah. And then final question for Mr. O. Brett937 says, what was Mr. O's favorite match, performer, and feud? And was there ever talks of having him do an actual in-person presence at any point and maybe to help out Pitbull? So I'll let you answer that first part. What was your favorite match, performer, and feud?
Like I said, I'm old, so you got to forgive me for not knowing. But when he turned the trampoline over, whichever match that was my favorite. When he turned that trampoline over on everybody, and that was my favorite. That was my favorite.
No, it was Money in the Bank, bro.
Money in the Bank too. Money in the Bank.
And I can remember when I think when D-Man did he cash in a briefcase or something like that or whatever? I can remember that, you know.
Cashed in on me.
Yeah,
Pac-Man beat me for my title.
Yeah.
The Renegades beat me up, and then he comes out, I'm cashing in. I'm cashing
And
in.
what was the other part of the question? You asked that and what else?
I said so. It was match, performer, and feud. So you have, your favorite match, your favorite performer, your favorite feud. Do you have any of those interested?
Feud wise, I guess it'd probably be KAGE and AK.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
I mean, because like I said, they started from the bottom and started it off, and they had more matches with each other than anybody else. So it kind of goes. And my favorite performer was how did you guys say this crap? Low Me Whore. SSC. I don't know. I kind of like Hazard
There's
too.
some
That
bias
freak.
going
I like him.
on, I think, with that.
Yeah, I liked Hazard. I like the freak. I liked him. He was pretty good too. Yeah.
He was funny, man. And I think that was a side of AK you weren't expecting to see, which I don't know if you were expecting to see the KBW side of AK come out. That's why we can pivot to that next.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought about AK.
So for a long time, AK was coming to our house, and he would come and stay. And like I said, at this point, this was before their mom and I divorced, and he's her biological nephew, and he would come and stay, and stuff like that. And I can honestly tell you, I've never heard him murmur a word. Like, I didn't even know he could talk. I'm like, this kid there's something wrong with him, I mean, and I'm saying that now jokingly because
I was
he
very
never said
shy.
anything. He never talked. And like, I would just say stuff to him just to mess with him. Just like, I'd just like, I'd say stuff like, and like I said, I'd say, are you gay? And he's like, huh? And he'd go, huh? And that's all he would say, like, huh? No. Or he would go. And he never would say anything. He'd just shake his head, And so then all of a sudden one day, KAGE shows me a promo that he cut. And I'm like, and I'm talking about, he said some shit like, I don't know if I can say shit, but he said some shit like, piss excellence. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't even know this kid could talk. And now all of a sudden he is out here cutting I'm like, this is wild. And then, and then I'll transition into, I don't know how much time we got, but toward the end, what I want to say about each one of you guys, and get to that.
Yeah, let's do it. Tell us.
So
I just remember, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. You heard it. I remember you telling me how you couldn't believe AK's growth as just not only as the wrestler but into the person he is.
I'll never forget. He might remember this. I was walking through the mall one day, and he just happened to be sitting in in our mall. There's the kiosk in the middle or whatever, and he just happened to be sitting in one of those massage chairs or whatever. Well, maybe on a bench. I can't remember. But he said, and when I passed by and I saw it, and I'm like, hey man, what are you doing? Like that. And he was still kind of shy. He didn't say a whole lot. And he was like, I'm just between classes. I'm going to college at South, or whatever. And then, like I said, well, good to see you, buddy, and this and that. And I just kept, kept moving or whatever. And then, like, a very short time later, kid, like, yes, AK graduates next week. I'm like, graduates from where? He's like, University of South Alabama. I said, graduates doing what? Like, what kind of degrees AK at? He's like, broadcast journalism. I'm like, no freaking way. That's not possible. I said, this kid didn't even talk. I said, and he's going to be a radio personality or what? You know, because I mean, broadcast journalism, they can go a lot of different ways. I said, TV and radio? I said, there's no way, you know? And so I want to say I'm very, very proud to say that, you know, that he did something that I never, because he just came out of the shell, you know, and even now, like now he talks, he like, you know, I can see him now. It's all fun and games, you know, or whatever. And then, you know, this guy here, you can ask KAGE. I call you the world traveler. I'm like, you know, this week he's in China, the next week he's in somewhere else, and I'm like, man, this is wild. I'm like, you know, Bulldozer just everywhere, you know, and so, and then, you know, moved on, got a job working. I was talking before we started the pod, and you know, I was like, you working? He's like, yeah, unfortunately. I'm like, you say unfortunately, you got a long way to go, buddy, you know, and then here we have like D-Man. D-Man is, you know, I'm trying to just cover everybody, you know, especially my bunch. I consider you guys my bunch. But, you know, D-Man goes to college and finishes college, and now he's teaching school and coaching. And, I mean, it just, you know, it kind of like proud daddy moment. You know, when I seen him walk across that stage, I was tickled. And then, you know, and then you get CJ. CJ called me today. And I helped him out on something, and he called me today, and he goes, hey, Dad. He said, man, I just want to call you and tell you thank you. I forgot to tell you thank you. I was like, you know, so here it is. His path in life wasn't college, but he took the path of developing a trade, and he's an electrician. I mean, and he got me 2 beautiful grandkids, and that I couldn't be more proud of, you know. And then our baby daughter, my daughter, she went to dental hygienist school and graduated, and decided after graduating dental hygienist school that I don't like sticking my hand in people's mouth. So she don't even do that anymore. She don't even do that. She got but then that brings me to, you know, here to KAGE. You know, I never forget. I tell people all the time. I said, you know, the crazy thing about the wrestling is, and him, you know, I said people see him on TV, you know, and they see him doing this, and I have almost every day somebody asks me, they go, hey man, how about your son? Is he still wrestling? I'm like, yeah, you know, and they see the glitz and the glamour. But what they don't see is how many nights he'll call me, and he'll be like, hey, Dad, or not so much anymore because he got riding buddies, but he would call me and he'd go, hey, Dad, can you talk with me? I don't want to go to sleep, you know, and be on a 6-hour car ride from home where he's went to, you know, freaking San Antonio, Texas, and made $30. You know, I mean, that was before. And then I'll never forget the night that he got signed with AEW. I'm finna tell you a little secret. This ain't something that everybody knows, but the night he got signed, he called me, and as soon as it went to commercial and came back, and he, you know, he got signed or whatever, and then it went off, and he got backstage, he called me on the phone. He said, Dad, he said, he didn't say I did it. He never once said I did it. He said, Dad, we did it. And that, ever how long ago that was, is the last time I actually shed a tear. I mean, because I was just that proud, because I knew all the hard nights and the many car rides that he went in by. Sometimes you got people with you, but for the most part, that grind is a long grind that you do by yourself. And, you know, I mean, to say he did something that a lot of people can't say that they've ever done. You know, he's a professional athlete on the highest level. And like I said, once again, proud daddy moment. I'm glad to be on with you guys tonight. I mean, hey, I'm proud of each of y'all. I mean, everybody. I mean, you know, Pac-Man and his brother. I mean, all these guys. I mean, to know that everybody has turned out to be great men and successful and doing their own thing. I mean, what else can you ask for? You know, I mean, hey.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that you were like you helped coach us in like baseball and football growing up. And so like a lot of other community kids knew you somehow because you were a mentor, coach to us all growing up. You know, I even got a little emotional too, thinking about, you know, how I did call you that night to say we did it. It was a very special moment. But like, that's why I think, you know, you have always been great with kids and wanted the best. And like, again, you were always the funny dad. I can remember you being in football practices and like you would have magic tricks that you would do and be entertaining and like show people magic tricks, or you would love to crack jokes and you would look at like the fastest kid on our high school team and be like, "You want to race?" He's like, "What? Do you want to race right now? We can race to that light pole." He's like, I'm gonna give you a head start. You just let me know when you want me to go, and I'll turn around and wave at you as I'm running backwards. And everybody's like, what's going on here? You would do little things to entertain people, and again, I feel like that's where all of us got our entertaining side from. So I just want to thank you for that. And I don't think inherently it's just what you do. You like to have a good time, like I said at the beginning, and it has been passed down to us, and I think that just makes life more fun. And I'm so happy and thankful that I was blessed with a dad to be that way and to be so happy and fun so we could do things like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, going back to me and Mr. O's story together, and like personal wise, you're saying you were messing with me a lot, and just like you're very funny. And when I was growing up, like I said, I didn't grow up like with my dad or my mom, so I didn't have like that parent figure. My grandma raised me, like I talked about in the family episode, and we were very like, she's quiet too. We were in our house, like it's not like a lot of talking going on. Like we sit down, we chill, I play my game, she's watching TV. It wasn't a lot of communication, a lot of conversations going on. But I feel like in your environment with your boys, you're always talking, you're always having fun, getting together, and they were used to that. So when I came into the fray, I was not used to that at all. Like, so I know you was messing with me, and it was funny, but I was like, it bothered me at the time just because I was like, oh, I'm not used to this. I don't know if I should laugh here or how I should react, because I was kind of awkward, and like I didn't have those social cues yet, because I didn't grow up in that like family-oriented environment like that. And that's why I was like, kind of like shy. And, slowly I finally got on my show, just because you, KAGE, they brought it out of me. We had more conversations. We started hanging out more, going to the house more. And it just felt more natural and, getting me out of my shell. But that was one of the main reasons why I was like that growing up, I would say.
You turned out okay, AK. I have to say, 100%. You did good for yourself, buddy. I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much.
My wife today, like I played like a part of the talk show where you were talking to Bulldozer, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, I never realized how bad his speech impediment was back then." She's like, when did he work with a coach to fix? I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, he's never really worked with a speech coach. Just over the years, he just worked at it himself, and he got better at speaking. And like, he's been in radio, and like he's been on the radio. He's talked, and like he's worked so hard to, he used to be like Elmer Fudd in a way, and like mix up his R's and his W's and like now it sounds night and day different to what he sounded like as a teenager. Right, so it's like it's crazy to see your growth, because it has your glow up has been crazy.
Like I said, I wouldn't say I was.
But I know
I'll go back to this. I wouldn't say I was like sheltered. I wasn't like very very close in, but I was kind of close in. Like there's a lot of times where I chose to stay in the house. There's a lot of times I chose not to go outside and hang out with everybody. And growing up, like I said, I didn't have like a lot of conversations with people. I was very shy. I didn't really talk a lot. So of course, since I wasn't talking a lot, I don't know. That's where the speech impediment kind of came in, because I wasn't used to talking. So when it just came out that way. So now when I'm talk more, I had more conversations. I grew up. I went into journalism, went to college. I made friends in college. I made friends in wrestling. There's a lot of conversations going on, and I just kind of picked up on that. And radio also helped as well. And of course, KBW helped a lot with that, with my confidence, just with all the promos over the years. It just all kind of fed into me being who I am today, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I know it's getting late. Just like D-Man, I feel like we could easily have Mr. O on again in the future and talk a whole nother hour and a half like we've done right now. I just want to thank my dad for coming on. Thank you for allowing to, big thanks to Bulldozer for setting all this up over there in Alabama for us. And again, Pops, love you to death. Thank you so much for being a part of KBW so many years ago. Thank you so much for, supporting this wrestling dream and helping me out all along the way. And it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight and having you on. And I can't wait for all the KBW fans to see, this awesome podcast.
Yes, hey, man, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be on. Glad to see, like I said, you guys' success. And I just want to leave y'all with two things. Number one, to you, KAGE, kiss my babies for me. And number two, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Absolutely. Mr. O come up with that catchphrase all by himself. He knew he wanted to have a catchphrase, and that's the one he came up with. Definitely check out the KBW membership if you haven't already. Yep. You will get videos early, like this podcast. You will get asked questions like so many other people did. And we will have a live stream, a reaction stream on February 18th that we can't wait to see you be a part of. But until next time, for my co-host, Bulldozer and AK-47, for my father, Mr. O, this has been the KBW Reunion Rewind Podcast. And we will see you every Tuesday on YouTube and early if you're a member. Peace.